Thank you, Carmen.
Good luck.
Thank you. Very nice to see everybody here. So, as Carmen introduced me, I'm Uri. I'm a Google developer expert and part of the Angular community. I go to conferences, speak about Angular, the web, Internet of Things. I also blog a lot. Today, we're going to speak about accessibility. And the reason I'm here today is actually my life partner, Ariella. I think she's somewhere here in the audience. And she's an optometrist. She taught me a lot about our eyes and how vision works. And today we got a very happy notice. She passed her optometry certification exams, the official ones in Israel. So I think she deserves a big round of applause from you. Okay, so thank you very much, and let's get started with a few common misconceptions some of you may have about accessibility. So first thing, why do we care about accessibility? I mean, accessibility is not just about blind people. When we get to the age of 40, 45, the lenses inside our eye starts to lose its flexibility. So we can no longer focus on objects like the screen of our smartphone or our laptop. In addition to that, during the course of our life, the cells inside our retina slowly die out. So eventually, we are all the target audience of accessibility. So when we do accessibility, we do it for people who have some impairments, but we also do it for the future us. In addition to that, most of the people who speak about accessibility, people who have special needs, they usually can't use the mouse, so they use the keyboard. And I think there is a big parallel between them and us as programmers, because as programmers, we also have a lot of keyboard shortcuts, and we are getting very proficient with using the keyboard. So I think the first thing when you have accessibility in mind is making the keyboard the tool that these people use as their only tool sometimes to access computer more powerful, to empower them by making the keyboard useful in our web apps. And when you think about how visually challenged people use the computer, you might have some concept in your mind of how screen readers work. I want to show you how screen readers are used in practice. Are you ready for this? 3, 2, 1. Did anyone manage to follow this speed? Did a closed caption? Fast garbled text. No, they didn't even manage to follow this text. So after a few years of using screen readers, you are getting really proficient at that. You can actually understand text at this speed. And this is the reason why people with disabilities, if we give them the tools, they can become really efficient. They can even do some of the tasks faster than we do because they know how to use the senses much better than we do. Let's talk about accessibility. Let's start with a quick example. So a few tools we are going to use today. Chrome Vox is a screen reader. We'll use it. Chrome Lens is a Chrome extension that lets you simulate several kinds of visual problems, like colorblindness and others. And X is another accessibility tool. We are not going to use it today, but I just mentioned that. Now, I see that some of you are taking out the phones. You don't need to worry about that. I'm going to tweet the link to the slides. And I also have this nice Angular beacon with me, which is broadcasting the URL to the slides for everybody in the room. So if you have Android and you switch Bluetooth on and location, or you have iOS with Chrome and you do some stuff, you may get a URL as a notification in your phone. And if not, you'll find it on Twitter, so don't worry about it. So we'll get to the tools later. I just wanted to put here the links so you'll have a good understanding of which tools we are using. And let's start with a quick demo. How many of you can read a word here on the top? What does it say? contrast, but it has no good contrast, and for some reason you said it's really, really quiet. Maybe that's the reason. So yeah, the screens here are pretty good, so I see even a few of the guys at the back can still read this. But yeah, contrast is a really important thing. When we can see, we can barely see this text because of the contrast, which is not very good, and then again the font size, and they come together. So if you have lower contrast, you need to use a better font size. And there are so many tools and common sense we can use for that. Let me show you something that was announced last week in the Chrome Dev Summit, something that they are adding for the developer tools to help us make the contrast better. So this is their announcement. Come on, YouTube.
We have a new experiment about to ship for color contrast.
See this line?
The line in the swatch here is coming down and giving you an idea of, on one side of the line, the contrast is good, on the other side, it's bad. And so as you move around.
So yeah, basically that's something we are going to have in Chrome Developer Tools soon, and there are so many tools that can just analyze your site and tell you, hey, this place has bad contrast, this place is okay. But now we are also going to have it in Developer Tools. Now, up next, we spoke about contrast and font size, and I think these are pretty easy concepts to understand. Let's speak a little bit about color blindness. Is there anybody in the room who can't see the number, who can't see it? Okay, there are. So about 1% of the population is green blind. I guess whoever raised their hand is green blind. And for most of us, like, we can see there is a number that's, I think, 74. And we are fine with that. But let me show you a few images. One of them I took from Wikipedia, from the Israeli Wikipedia. What color is this traffic light? Can anybody tell me? Who? Oh, really? Yeah. Not can continue. Can anybody tell me? So I'm using here Chrome Lens to simulate green blindness. And as you can see, you can't see the color. When I disable this, you will find out the answer. Are you ready for this? So what color is it now? Green. So you have been gifted the ability to see colors again now. And this is one of the tools that is super easy to use. Just install this Chrome Lens extension, go to the developer tools, hit the Chrome Lens tab, and then you can enable all kind of vision problems like red blind, green blind, etc. And you can check how your site looks like to people with this kind of diseases. And then I want to show you Joe Imms. He wore a t-shirt yesterday that I really liked, so I took a photo of it. And let me show you what it looks like when you are green blind. So, can you read the text here? Not really, I guess, because I see you squinting your eyes. Okay, let me gift you again the ability to see colors. So, do you see it better now? Can you see that the test passed? And we use colors in our life as developers to indicate that something is good or bad. In this case, that the test has passed and Joe is happy. It's like, oh yeah, I can relax all day, all tests passed. But whenever we use colors to indicate success or failure, let's make sure there is another indication, not only colors, because not everybody can see this green color, as we have just witnessed now. So that's about color blindness. It's super simple. Just install Chrome Lens, use it, and it will help you to see how people who are colorblind experience your web applications. And with that, let's move on to my favorite part, the demo time. I'm going to show you an Angular app, and we are going to make it accessible in just a few lines of code. So I guess most of you recognize it. This is Angular 5 app I just created with the CLI, brand new app. I'll open up my VS Code so we can live code. And the first thing I'm going to do is to make sure we can't see. Because right now we can see it very clearly, the text and everything. And the thing I'm going to use a little trick. I'm just going to apply a filter, a blur filter on the body. So as soon as I save this file, you will no longer be able to see the text. So this is what your website may look like for somebody with not so good vision. And you can already see that the Angular logo is still recognizable, but the texts aren't really readable. And to make this app more interesting, I actually created a Stack Overflow-like app. So let's replace this whole boilerplate stuff with the Stack Overflow app. And reload the page. And hooray, we got a Stack Overflow app, but you can't read the questions nor the answers. And now we are going to use some assistive technology. We are going to use the Chromebox screen reader I mentioned to you at the beginning of the talk and try to see how visually impaired people experience this website. So with that, let me enable the screen reader.
Why does HTML think Chuck Norris is a color?
This is a real question from Stack Overflow. I copy-pasted it. So yeah, this is a real question, and I saw some of you jiggling, so probably like I do, you also like this question. And I want to upvote for it. Like, I want to say, hey, I love this question. So I'm going to try to use the tab key.
Button. Localhost 4220. Button. Localhost. Button. Localhost 4220.
Pretty frustrating, isn't it? I can't get... Shut up.
Well,
I can't get to the button because this button is not accessible. Let me show you the code that powers this button, the voter component. So this is basically the entire code for the upvote section. You can probably see something blurry here, and you can guess this is the upvote section because we all know how Stack Overflow is laid out. And you can see that I have here an icon with a class that probably draws some kind of up icon, and then another one that draws down icon. So if I use the mouse, I just click on it, and then there is a click handler, and everything works well. But if I can't really see the screen, I don't even know where the button is, so of course I can't click it. For that, we are going to add a first attribute that will make this accessible. That's called tab index. How many of you use tab index regularly? Quite a few, like 1/3. Great. Applause to you. I love you. And the next thing we are going to do, so now we'll be able to gather with a tab, but this is a span, and as visually impaired users, we won't be able to understand that, okay, we got here. What is this element? Like, is this maybe a checkbox, a slider? So for that, we are going to add another attribute, which is called role. And this one has plenty of values, like a slider, checkbox, heading, whatever. You can check it online. The purpose is just to get you familiar with the basics of adding accessibility. So this is the role, and it says, hey, this is a button. So whenever the screen reader gets to this element, as we'll soon see, it will say, this is a button. But as people who can't see the screen right now, we still can't tell what does this button do. Do you have any idea how we solve that? Yes, another attribute. We are going to add a label for it. So this label, this area label, is a thing that will be read when the screen reader gets to this element. So now if I go back to my application, I can actually, let's save this. I can actually I can actually get to this button, and I know it's an upvote button, but I click on it and nothing happens. And even if I'm a sighted user, but I don't have a mouse, I can't use this button. The reason is we only have a click event listener. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to add some keyboard love. That's right. So basically, I'm going to call a method from my controller whenever somebody hits a key. This method is called voteKeyDown, and let me implement that method in my controller. Let's save this file, because otherwise I will forget it.
Breaking the ice.
And going back to my controller, I'm just going to implement this method, which basically gets the keyboard event from the template, and whether it should upvote or downvote, and then it just updates the votes property accordingly. So now, when I hit the Enter key or the space key, and you should really use constants for that, just used here the numbers to make it simpler to follow. Whenever I get the Enter key or the space key,
Breaking the ice.
I should be able to upvote or downvote. Why is it
Breaking
not
the
happy? Okay. But there is still one thing missing. Okay, so I press the Enter button and something happened, but as somebody who relies on a screen reader, I can't see the number updates on the screen. So I need to tell the screen reader as a developer that it should read again the number once the number has changed. And I'm doing it by, you see this pen where it should display the number of votes. So I'm going to add an area live, which basically tells the screen reader, watch this section. Whenever there is a change, just read it aloud. And I will save this. And now,
Breaking the ice.
let's see if I can vote for my favorite question.
Upvote. 21. 22.
Hooray, I managed to vote. Thank you very much. There is a lot more accessibility love we can add here. I will just show you one example. So for now, we managed to go into read the app linearly from top to bottom, but perhaps we don't really want to read all the questions and answers. We just want to scan through it quickly. And one way I can make it easier for people who use screen reader to just scan through the app quickly is by changing the titles of our questions from divs to headings. Once they are set to be a heading, there is a keyboard shortcut that lets me go through all the headings. So let's try that. I'm actually going to change this div to H2, so it's now a heading.
Breaking the ice.
And I'm going to use that keyboard shortcut.
Breaking the ice.
So I'm now going to navigate through the headings, and we can hear just the questions without all the upvote, downvote, and the actual answers. So that's the keyboard shortcut.
Heading list. Welcome to app. Why does HTML think Chuck Norris is a color?
Google that
Heading
after.
2. How to pair socks from a pile efficiently.
That's another
Heading
question
2.
from Stack Overflow.
Press enter to accept
And I
or
think
escape to
my
cancel. Down for next. What's the difference between JavaScript and Java? Exited.
That's interesting.
Heading list.
What's the difference? Do you know
What's
it?
the difference between upvote? 78. Java and JavaScript are similar like car and carpet are similar.
Did you know that? That's also from Stack Overflow. So anyway, we have seen how with a little markup, we managed to make our app much more accessible. Now we can upvote, downvote, we can navigate it with the screen reader, and we can read it. And there is a little bit more stuff that we could add, but that's the essential. Like, just by adding a few attributes, we made it appealing to a much broader audience. And actually now, when I look at you, I see somebody who is using, I don't know, like a small telescope. So we have someone who can get assisted by this technology here, and that's exciting for me. So going back to our slides, let's just make it sure it's
Chrome box is now inactive.
inactive, so it won't read aloud all the slides. So getting back to our slides, that was a quick demo, and all the code is available on GitHub. I will put a link on my Twitter after the talk. You can also find it in the slides. One more thing I want to talk to you about. We have seen all those area attributes, like area live, polite, that we use to tell the screen reader to read the text, and area label that we use through label the upvote button. And if we want to bind to them from Angular, we actually have to use this syntax. So this is something you need to remember. If you wanted your area label to be dynamic, you would need to use this syntax. Let's say you wanted to translate this text instead of having upvote, having apoyar in Spanish or something like that. Then if you wanted to bind into an expression in your controller instead of having a static text, you would need to use the attr dot. And that's because this area label and all the other area stuff they are attributes. They are not properties on the JavaScript object. They are HTML attributes. So just one thing for you to remember from here is use this syntax whenever you want to integrate ARIA with your controller. And nobody here asked me, what is that ARIA that you speak about all the time? But I guess you are curious. Anybody knows what ARIA means? Just a few, so I will make sure now everybody does. ARIA means accessible, rich internet applications. So if we want to be rich, let's build accessible internet applications. Okay, so we have seen some of the basic things we can do today to make the life easier for us when we get older, for people who need assistive technology, or just don't want to use the mouse. Go away. And I want to talk to you for a moment about the future. That's the tools we can use today. But in the future, we are going to see much more devices like this VR headset, and we are going to have a demo with the VR headset later today. And I want to show you one project I'm currently working on, which may be one step towards making the future of accessibility and rich internet experiences more nice. That's an EEG headband I'm working on connecting to the web. I don't know if it will work with the mic, but we are going to try. I'm going to put it on my, my head right now and see if I can connect to it from an Angular app that I prepared for this purpose. So I'm all set. Let's see if this works. So this is the Angular app, and if all works, you are going to see my brain activity in just a few seconds. Please, let's see if this works. Okay, connecting. Developer console. Let's try that again. One more time. Yeah, sometimes technology doesn't work, but we have to be patient. Okay, is it gonna work? Please. Okay. Last time, I'm going to switch it off, switch it back on. That always works. Restarting. Let's reload the page as well. I think it might work now. Let me see. We are optimistic. I know it's going to work. Yes, it worked! So yeah, let me put it on, because right now it's like in a very awkward position. And right now, okay, if it's all fine, you will be able to watch my brain activity in just a moment. Yeah, right now you can see my brain activity in this graph. As you can see, there is not much going on there. And I'm going to show you one demo that I did with this headset, connecting it to one of the games we all love, the Lonely T-Rex game. I'm going to try to control this game with just my eyes. So, are we ready for this? Please pair, please pair, please pair. I know you can do it. Yes. Okay, let's see if it picks up the signal from my eye. Okay, I'm going to try to play the game without hands, just me and the screen. Yeah, that was challenging. Let's try that again. Okay, so you know, live demos don't always work, but now it does. Yeah. Thank you. So what you have seen now is just like one small step in making assistive technology more natural and easier to use. And I really wonder what the future holds for us in this sense. You are invited to catch me later and play with this if you like. And it can also be fun. And let's summarize. So here are a few resources. This is a blog post that I wrote. The third one is a really good talk about accessibility, like how to implement it in your app if you are hungry for more. And I want to finish. You can find it on my Twitter, and etc. And I want to finish with a few things for you to take here. First of all, every single one of you, please start using role, tab index, area label. Only using those three will make your app much easier for screen reader users to use. The second thing I want you to take, please, like we just did here, test your app with a screen reader as if you are a visually challenged person. And the most important, I think, I love this Angular community. It's awesome. So let's pave the way for others and set an examples for others to follow. Thank you.